Picture this. It's a Tuesday morning. 2,500 employees across the United States sit down at their desks, coffee in hand, ready to start another day. They type in their passwords. Access denied. They try again. Maybe they mistyped. Access denied. They call IT. The lines are jammed. They call their managers. Their managers can't log in either. Nobody can. Not the CEO. Not the accountants. Not the warehouse staff trying to ship orders worth millions. The entire company, frozen. And somewhere, sitting in his apartment, a man they fired 2 months earlier watches the chaos unfold with one hand on his keyboard and, I imagine, something resembling a smile. That's where we're headed today. But we're not starting at the apocalypse. No. Today we're tracing the evolution. From petty to prison. 3 IT workers. 3 acts of revenge. Each one darker than the last. Because here's the thing about IT workers. We mock them. We ignore their emails about password security. We blame them when the printer doesn't work. But they hold the keys to everything. And sometimes, they remember that. Let's open the first file.
Okay, so I need to set the stage here because the payoff doesn't hit unless you understand just how insufferable this man was. I've been the senior systems administrator at this company for almost 6 years. Mid-sized firm, about 400 employees, nothing fancy. I knew every server by name. I'd built half the infrastructure myself. And for 6 years, things ran smoothly. Not perfectly. Nothing ever runs perfectly, but smoothly. Then we got a new CEO. I'll call him Richard. Not his real name, but fits. You know the type. Came from some Fortune 500 company, where he was probably a middle manager. But he walked into our building like he was Steve Jobs reincarnated. First week on the job, Richard calls an all-hands meeting. Stands up there with his little PowerPoint presentation, and I swear to God, one of the slides just said accountability in giant letters. He announces that we have a security problem. According to him, people are being too lax. Doors propped open. Badges not being scanned. This is unacceptable. This is how corporate espionage happens. This is how we lose millions. So here's the new policy. Every single door, and I mean every door, including the bathroom, requires badge in. No exceptions. No tailgating. If you forget your badge, you go home and get it. If you can't get it, you take a vacation day. And here's the kicker. If IT catches anyone bypassing the system, HR gets involved. Now, my team is looking at me like, is this guy serious? And I'm thinking the same thing. This is a mid-sized marketing firm, not the Pentagon. But whatever. He's the CEO. We implement it. The next 3 months are chaos. People are constantly getting locked out. Bathroom emergencies become actual emergencies. Productivity tanks because everyone's paranoid about holding doors for coworkers. But Richard is thrilled. He's walking around like he single-handedly prevented a security breach. Every meeting, he brings up how the new culture of accountability is taking hold. Meanwhile, I'm getting emails at 2 a.m. from employees locked out of the building because they stepped outside for a smoke. And here's the thing that really got me. Richard himself had a special exemption. His badge was programmed to unlock any door, anytime, no questions asked. His office door didn't even have the same scanner. We installed a separate one, just for him with faster response time, because he complained the regular ones were too slow. So rules for thee, not for me. Classic. This goes on for months. And I'm patient. I'm professional. But I'm also petty. And I'm very, very good at waiting. Then comes the day. We got investors visiting. Big deal. The kind of meeting where the future of the company gets decided. Richard has been prepping for weeks. New suit. Rehearsed presentation. The whole building gets a memo about being on best behavior. The meeting is at 9 a.m. in the executive conference room. Richard is supposed to arrive at 8:30 for setup. At 8:15, I get a call at my desk. It's the front desk receptionist. Hey, Richard forgot his badge. He's asking if someone can let him in through the side entrance. Now, let me be clear. I could have walked down there in 45 seconds. I could have temporarily disabled the door. I could have done a dozen things. But Richard's policy was very clear, written in his own memo, signed with his own signature. No exceptions. If you forget your badge, you go home and get it. I told the receptionist I'd handle it. Then I put my headphones on and went back to work. 20 minutes later, I hear shouting from the lobby. By the time Richard finally got someone from facilities to physically hold the door, which, technically, was a policy violation that HR should have been notified about, it was 9:05. The investors were already sitting in the conference room, waiting, checking their watches. Richard storms past my desk on the way to the meeting, face completely red, doesn't even look at me. I just sip my coffee. The meeting went fine, apparently. But the investors definitely noticed the CEO sprinting in 10 minutes late, sweating through his shirt. The following week, a new memo went out. After careful consideration, we are adjusting the badge policy to allow for emergency guest access in certain circumstances. Certain circumstances. Right. I framed that memo. It's still on my wall.
Ah. Poetic, isn't it? No laws broken. No damage done. Just a man forced to swallow his own medicine. That's the fantasy, right? The clean revenge. The kind where you win and nobody goes to jail. Where you walk away with a smirk and a story for every happy hour for the rest of your life. But not everyone stops there. Some people don't want the boss to be embarrassed. They want the boss to hurt. They want the company to bleed. Our next story crosses the Pacific Ocean to Singapore. A man named Kandula Nagaraju. A QA tester who got fired. And what he did next cost his former employer $678,000.
I gave that company 3 years. 3 years of testing their systems. 3 years of documenting bugs that nobody wanted to hear about. 3 years of being a ghost in a cubicle while managers took credit for my work. NCS, National Computer Systems, one of the biggest IT services companies in Singapore. Government contracts, major corporations, millions of dollars flowing through servers that I helped maintain. And in October 2022, they called me into a meeting room and told me my performance wasn't up to standard. That was it. No warning, no improvement plan, just a termination letter and an escort to clean out my desk. I'm not going to pretend I handled it well. I was angry. I felt humiliated. Here I was, 39 years old, being marched out of a building like a criminal because some manager decided I wasn't productive enough. But here's the thing they forgot. They forgot to turn off my credentials. I realized it about a week after I was terminated. I was at home, bitter, scrolling through my emails, and I tried logging into one of the development systems, just to see. It worked. I sat there for probably 10 minutes, just staring at the screen. I had full access to the QA systems, test servers, development environments, the same access I had when I was employed. And the thoughts started forming in the back of my head. I'm not an impulsive person. I didn't do anything that night, or the next night. I just thought about it, about what they did to me, about how easily they threw me away, about how nobody would even remember my name in 6 months. But they'd remember this. Over the next few weeks, I started writing scripts. I'm a QA tester. I know how to automate things, how to write code that executes commands systematically, cleanly. I tested my access again in January 2023. Still active. I couldn't believe it. 3 months. They hadn't done the most basic security protocol. The one thing every IT offboarding checklist starts with, revoke access. Part of me thought I'd get caught before I did anything, that this was some kind of trap. But weeks went by. Nothing. So I finished my script. Between January and March 2023, I logged into their systems 6 times. I deleted 180 virtual servers. Not random. Systematic. I knew which ones mattered. Which ones would cause the most disruption. QA environments. Testing systems. Development servers with months of work stored on them. I didn't take money. I didn't steal data. I just erased it. All of it. The first time I ran the script, my hands were shaking. But after that, it felt mechanical, like I was just doing a job, which I guess, in a way, I was. The final job they'd ever get from me. They detected the breach in March. By then, it was too late. Months of development work gone. System configurations gone. Testing environments that took years to build gone. $678,000 in damages. That was the number they gave the court. And yeah, they caught me. It wasn't hard. I'd used my own credentials. I wasn't trying to hide. Part of me wonders if I wanted to get caught, if the whole point was for them to know it was me. The police showed up at my apartment in April 2023. Very polite, very professional. They already had everything. My trial was in 2024. The judge gave me 2 years and 8 months. I'm not going to tell you I don't regret it. Sitting in a cell gives you a lot of time to think about choices. But I'll tell you this. They remember my name.
180 servers. $678,000. A prison sentence in Singapore. You'd think that would be the ceiling, wouldn't you? The ultimate cautionary tale about what happens when a wronged IT worker decides to push back. But Nagaraju deleted test environments. Development servers. Things that could be rebuilt. Our final story is not that. Maxwell Schultz didn't target servers. He targeted people. 2,500 of them. Every single employee at a company that spans multiple states. And the FBI got involved.
People ask me if I plan it. The honest answer is no, not really. It wasn't some master scheme I've been cooking up for months. It was more like a switch flipped, and once it flipped, I couldn't flip it back. I was an IT contractor, had been for years. It's not glamorous work, but I was good at it. Network administration, system access, password management, the stuff that keeps a company running without anyone ever knowing your name. This particular company, I'm not going to name them, but you can look it up, had about 2,500 employees, offices across the country, warehouses, distribution centers, big operation, and I had the keys to all of it. Then one day, in late 2023, my contract got terminated. No real explanation, just for going in a different direction. Classic corporate speak for, "You're not our problem anymore." I asked for details. Was there a performance issue? Something I did wrong? They wouldn't tell me anything, just that my access would be terminated at the end of the week and I should return my equipment. Except they didn't terminate my access at the end of the week. Sound familiar? These companies spend millions on cybersecurity, firewalls, intrusion detection, fancy consultants who charge $500 an hour to tell them about best practices. But they can't remember to deactivate the login credentials of the guy who literally had admin access to every system in the company. I found out by accident. About 2 weeks after I was let go, I was cleaning up my laptop and realized I still had the VPN client installed. Muscle memory, I guess. I clicked it, typed in my credentials, and I was in full admin access, Active Directory, password management systems, everything. I just sat there for a while, looking at all those employee profiles, all those systems I used to manage, all those people who probably didn't even know I existed. And I thought about how they'd thrown me away like I was nothing. The idea started small. What if I just changed a few passwords? Because the little chaos made them realize they should have treated their IT people better? But the more I thought about it, the bigger it got. Why a few passwords when I could do all of them? Every single one. I won't describe exactly how I did it, but if you know anything about Active Directory and bulk password resets, it's not complicated. It's actually terrifyingly simple if you have admin access. And I did. On January 16, 2024, I logged in remotely and executed a mass password reset across the entire organization. 2,500 employees. All of their passwords changed to random strings they would never be able to guess. And then I sat back and watched. It started hitting around 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Employees arriving for work, trying to log in, getting locked out. They tried their passwords again, failed. They called it. The IT help desk was completely overwhelmed within the first hour. By 9 a.m., the entire company was paralyzed. Nobody could access their email. Nobody could access their files. The warehouse management systems were locked. Shipping stopped. Sales stopped. Everything just stopped. And here's the thing. Even if you reset someone's password in a system like that, you still need to manually create new credentials and distribute them to 2,500 people, securely, one by one. That takes time, a lot of time. I heard later it took them almost a full day to get critical systems back online. Some employees couldn't access their accounts for 3 days. The losses? I don't even know the final number. Productivity costs, overtime for the IT staff, lost business, reputation damage. It had to be in the millions. The FBI showed up at my door about a month later. Turns out when you cause that much damage to a company that operates across state lines, it becomes a federal matter. Who knew? I didn't run, didn't try to hide. By that point, I think I was just tired. Tired of being angry. Tired of waiting for the consequences I knew were coming. The charges came fast. Computer fraud, intentional damage to protected systems, the kind of stuff that carries real time. My lawyer tried to argue it was a momentary lapse in judgment. The prosecution pointed out that I'd logged in multiple times, planned to reset, and watched the chaos unfold in real time. That's not a lapse. That's a choice. I pleaded guilty in 2024. The judge sentenced me to federal prison. And you know what the worst part is? When I think about that company now, I don't feel satisfaction. I don't feel vindicated. I don't feel like I won anything. I just feel empty. 2,500 people who probably had nothing to do with my termination couldn't do their jobs that day. Some of them probably had their own problems, their own bosses they hated, their own struggles, and I made their lives worse. For what?
Free stories. Free IT workers. 3 levels of revenge. The first was petty. Harmless. A story you tell at happy hour and everyone laughs. The second crossed a line. Real damage. Real prison time. But targeted at systems, not people. And the third? The third was scorched earth. A man so consumed by his own anger that he didn't care who got caught in the blast radius. Here's the thing about IT workers that most people don't think about. They build the systems you depend on. They maintain the infrastructure that keeps your business alive. They know every password, every backdoor, every vulnerability. And most of them are treated like they're invisible. Like they're just another line item on a budget spreadsheet. Something to cut when times get tough. I'm not saying what Nagaraju did was right. I'm not saying what Schultz did was justified. But I am saying, maybe next time your company decides to fire someone who has the keys to your entire kingdom, make sure you change the locks.